Mr. Hart, in recent years, the Braves have received a lot of positive media attention for having players who are from Georgia, from Atlanta, who have come up through the system and starred for the Braves. Was having Dansby Swanson, was having him with some roots in the Atlanta area, did that make that trade a little more impactful or a little bit sweeter to bring him home, per se?
Well, I think certainly for the fans, it was one that registered. I mean, we've made so many trades, and we've traded in this sort of retool that we're in now. And a lot of players that we've brought in didn't have, if you will, sort of cachet. They weren't, Southern kids that were known. And whether Dansby Swanson was from, Georgia or whether he was from Mars, I mean, we still liked this player a lot. And but I think that when we made this deal, as tough as it was to make a trade like this, to be able to bring back, players that, number one, are either in the big leagues or knocking on the door, and to have, if you will, the number one pick in the draft, a local kid that is close. I think that really added to, I think, the fans' acceptance of another, if you will, sort of good player leaving as we try to rebuild this foundation. So, but Dansby Swanson, wherever he comes from, this is a kid that can play. He likes to play. He's a winner, but he's gonna cut his teeth in the big leagues in the shadow of where this young man grew up, which is really going to be kind of fun.
Mr. Hart, the Braves have kind of got mixed emotions about some trades that's been made over the past couple of years. Can you kind of give feedback on just kind of the direction of the Braves and kind of your thought process on the time frame of getting the Braves back to the playoffs and the World Series?
Yeah, I think anytime you come to an organizational decision that you might have to take a step back, especially for an organization that had so much success as have the Braves. But ultimately, I think we realized that there were several factors at play. Number one, probably the root for all of the Braves had been its farm system, and we felt that the farm system had gone fallow. We didn't feel that it was a playoff type of a club. We were going to have to continue to go out and chase the free agents. There had been some bad signings, and I think as we have made the moves we've made, as tough as they've been, we had to move off some money. We had to move off some players that weren't going to fit. Along the way, we had to move some players that potentially could have been a part of when this club gets turned around. So I think we've kind of walked down the line with two focus points. One being we want to be respectable at the big league club, at the big league level. But our emphasis has been on, if you will, sort of rebuilding the lifeblood of an organization, which is the young players, which are going to be our stars of the future, are going to be the players that when, in the near future are going to be a part of winning a lot of pennants and hanging a lot of banners back up in Atlanta. But it's been painful, it's been tough. Obviously, Freddie lives it every day. TP, our staff, our fans have went through a very difficult year. We all did. But we are trying to make this as quick as we can. And I think that, you're going to look up 1 year from now, we're going to be in a different situation with our new ballpark, the revenues that this club is going to enjoy. And also, which I think is the key, is that we are going to have had 2 drafts. We're going to have 2 international signings, which is what we've emphasized. And we're going to have a lot of the trade pieces that we brought over that are all going to be young players that are going to form the, I think, the nucleus of the next group of championship talent Braves.
As excited as I've ever been. I think offensively, if you look at our club offensively, position by position, I think we're going to be a little bit better, maybe even a lot better, if everybody stays healthy and all that kind of stuff. Our bullpen, I think we rebuild a bullpen that's going to be solid. We had some pretty good stuff going on last year, even though the first half of the season, it was almost 2 different seasons. But the first half of the season, we had a good club. They went out there and played with the hair on fire. They played with a lot of energy, and they were fundamentally sound. And we had some injuries, and we made some trades, and then we didn't play as good. But looking over this winter, I'm excited. I think we got our bullpen is good. We talked about the position players, and we just keep making phone calls. You know, John Capola calls me, hey, how about this guy? How about that guy? And keep adding players. I'm excited about some of the young players that we got in some trades. Some of the guys last year played in the big leagues a little bit. Whistler came from a trade, and he did a nice job for us. And looking for him to develop to a major league pitcher. I wish Fulton Nevich had not gotten hurt, because he was starting to come around a little bit, and he's going to have a healthy winter, and I'm sure he'll be ready to go in spring training. And then many other guys that are exciting to watch in spring training. John, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, or last week I guess it was, and we're going to spend a lot of time watching them in those backfields, watching those young players, because they're knocking on the door. Malik Smith, you got Terrell Jenkins, you got a bunch of other guys that are going to be there, and I'm going to have my coaches every once in a while say, hey, why don't you go down and watch the minor league game? Let somebody else be the first base coach here, or the third base coach here. Let's go watch some of those young guys play and watch them develop. I'm going to add a little bit something what these two gentlemen said about, you know, A-ball and the AA and minor leagues. This is where you cut your teeth, really, as a player. This is where you learn the fundamentals. This is the first time that some of these guys are going to play 144 games. It's going to be a grind, you know, running the buses. And I couldn't think of anybody better leading a club of young men than Randy, a guy that's been here a lot of years in the organization. There's another gentleman sitting outside, Brian Snicker, 40 years in this organization. Not only as a baseball player, but also as young men. You could have two men develop these players, but better than these two guys.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be back here. Introduce our Rome Braves field staff. Starting directly to my right, Dan Meyer will be the pitching coach here this year. Dan and I go back as kind of we were teammates, as you guys well remember, here in '03. And despite our distaste for each other, he's back in the role here this year. Next to him, obviously needs no introduction, Randy Engel, back as our field manager. To his right is Joe Luot. Joe Luot's going to be our athletic trainer this year. Two guys who are not here are Bobby Moore, who again needs no introduction, and Frank Witkowski will be our strength and conditioning coach again this year. So with that said, this is our 2016 Rome Braves staff, and we're really thrilled to be here today and answer any questions you guys may have, and fire away.
First of all, I thought I recognized you, Dan.
Uh-oh.
How does it feel to be back?
You know what? I've always loved Rome, and that's the guy's honest truth. It's, you know, I could tell you stories for long, but in '09, I drove down when I was at the Marlins. I drove down, stopped at Jonathan's house in Atlanta, and I made him drive us to Rome because I've always had people that I've gotten along with here. I still keep in contact with. I love this city. I'm excited to be back. So I'm pumped to, you know, I'm ready to get ready for the summer and get going and see the people that I saw 13 years ago, and it's exciting time. I love the city. It's a good city.
Dan, you know, coming into this role, there's a lot of pitchers last season within the organization that, you know, were kind of battlers. Like, you know, might allow a couple of hits, but battled through 8 innings or so. What's your view on the pitchers you have, like John and who else?
You know, I think that decision will be made in spring training as far as who we get collectively as a group. But my message won't change, and that's strike one. I think you have to get ahead. You know, at this level, it's more about developing. You got to give them kind of a foundation to build the house. You know, as the higher as you go up through the minor leagues, I think that's kind of where you get advanced. But if we can get strike one and work ahead and limit walks, I think that's a great start. And you have to give every, you know, pitcher an opportunity to let the defense play. And I think as a team, if that all works out together, I think you have a good shot.
In your experience, is that one of the biggest things that pitchers coming into the minors, you know, struggle with or need to learn? Just, you know, throw strikes and, you know, you'll get through it?
Yeah, I think in a way. The quickest way out of this game is walks.
Yeah.
So you can have the best stuff in the world, but if you walk guys, it's going to be really tough to be able to get you in every day in, day out. So if we can work on strike one, you know, baby steps, you work on strike one, if we can work off of that, and then we can advance and expand the strike zone at that point, I think that's great. And a lot of the guys at this level are they're younger. So I think they need that foundation. You know, and if I have that luxury of implementing that foundation, getting them strike one, and they can build off that, I think that's a great start.
Randy, talk about coming back this season and just, what, the feeling is of around the Rome guys, of you and Bobby and everybody coming back.
Well, I'm very excited about coming back to Rome. I look around this room, I see a lot of familiar faces. Some faces I don't see because they're covered up, with hair and stuff, but I still know who they are under that.
Wonder who that was aimed at.
But no, I'm very excited and really looking forward to coming back this year. Not only working with guys that we have, some new staff members with Dan. We worked together 2 years ago. Joe and I worked together 2 years ago. We were all together, and these guys do a phenomenal job. And of course, everybody knows Bobby Moore. I mean, he can run for mayor and probably win it by a landslide here. But Bobby being back is tremendous. Does a tremendous job, and having Frank back also. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. Really excited about working with these guys again, but also working with the young talent we got coming up. And I can't think of a better place than being here in Rome with the facilities, the people that run it, the way they run it, and everything involved. So, I know I'm happy to come back. I don't know if everybody here is happy for me to come back, but I'm very excited and I'm happy to be coming back. So, looking forward to it.
Randy, similar question to what I just asked him. Is there anything in your experience, you tell kids that are just, coming up into development, or, one thing that you've kind of told them over and over again in the last few years?
Well, one thing that we tell them here at the first of the season, this is the first year for 95% of them as far as playing a full season. They've played half seasons in rookie ball, and a full season is long. And you got to prepare yourself. You got to take care of yourself early in the year to get through a season, because it is a grind. And that's something that we try to instill in them. We try to stay on them with it. Our strength conditioning guys, our nutritionists, and everybody else, and Joe, our trainers and stuff. We really try to take care of them early in the year and throughout the season to get through the season. But we try to go out every day and get better, and try to help these guys to improve their skill, and then put them out there and let them play. It's been good so far.
And I know it's, even before spring training, but have you guys gotten any indication about what some of the younger players the Braves have acquired the last few years in trades, if any of them will be coming to Rome, or is that still under review?
Well, I was surprised that lasted the fifth question of the evening. Normally that's one of the first. Obviously, we're not going to say right now who is going to be a part of this 2016 Rome Braves club. We have a pretty good idea, but the thing is, it shakes out in spring training. So like Dan said, there's a lot of things that go on in spring training. We have acquired through trades as well as through the draft last year a lot of young talent that's going to be, there's going to be a lot of competition for this level. And I think that's a good thing for an organization to have. We haven't had it in a while, but kudos to Brian Bridges, to Mark Russo and the Latin Academy down there in Dominican that we have. What they do, we've gotten a influx of very high quality players that are going to be competing for this job here in Rome. I'll let the public kind of take a look at our system and see who was in Danville last year and who had good years, and can probably make an assumption. I'm not going to comment on who it will be, but been around long enough, you can kind of see a track record of who we promote and who gets here, and I think you guys could pretty much guess about 90% of the club by doing that. So.
Right.
Thank you.